Hey guys, it's Sensuki. In this video I'm going to be touching on a rather touchy subject on the Obsidian forums and a hotly debated topic, and that topic is experience, or XP. Now the reason that I have not really gone into this topic before is because I think that many of the arguments that are had on the forums are not constructive. Mostly it is just people on the forums arguing because they either prefer combat experience or no combat experience, and I think both of those positions are fair enough. I think XP for combat is a valid wish because the Infinity Engine games all had XP for combat. That's just how it is, and from the point of nostalgia and I guess familiarity, that is something that many players will or have come to expect from such an RPG. I also understand the view of people who don't like experience for combat, because in games, not necessarily all games, but in some games, combat is only one option. It is not all there. If you're placed with an encounter or a situation, combat is merely an option. Games like this is The Witcher or The Witcher 2. You can choose to kill people or not to kill them in The Witcher 2, and usually those choices are related to quests. In The Witcher 1 you got experience for combat, but in The Witcher 2 you didn't. You just got quest experience. So whether you let that person live or not has nothing to do with it. I didn't feel that experience for kills impacted me in quests in The Witcher. I never killed anybody for experience. However, I did go around farming the swamps for levels, especially the wyverns and stuff like that, because they gave good experience. And doing those early on, you get a lot of experience, considering that the XP scales because it was using the Aurora engine. And there's also other games that have combat and non-combat options. I think Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is one of those, and I think a lot of people quote Deus Ex as well. I usually say Deus Ex, but it's Deus Ex. And so I wanted to give my opinion on experience rewards in Pillars of Eternity. Now the first topic I wanted to touch on is Exploration XP. In the current patch, version 333, the Exploration XP is rewarded to the player upon entering an area. So when you first enter the Deerford Village, you get, I don't know, 500 experience. No, it's not 500 experience. You get like 50 experience for the party, which in the beta is 10 experience per character. Now I think Exploration XP has been implemented incorrectly. I don't think you should be rewarded for entering areas. I think that is a lazy implementation of it. Now, what I think that Obsidian should do is actually reward exploration. Now, by actually rewarding exploration, you can argue that simply entering an area is exploration, but what if you enter the area for the experience and then exit the area? You get the 10 experience for the area and you didn't actually do any exploring. So I don't think that entering an area should give you experience. What I think Exploration XP should be is rewarding the player discovering things in areas. For instance, hidden caches. In the Deerford Crossing there is a hidden compartment in the part of the ruins in the south part of the map. I think there used to be two, but one of the compartments was removed in the latest patch. I think that the player should be rewarded for finding that hidden cache, because that is exploration. And I also think that the player should be rewarded for exploration or explorative activities, such as perhaps finding the secret passage down to the Deerford ruins. That could be one thing that the player is rewarded for. That does create the issue where if the player entered the ruins through the Deerford village, then they wouldn't get the experience for uncovering the bit at the statue. So that is one issue I can see with that specific example, but I'm sure that the designers could find a way to incorporate the experience that you get for uncovering the Deerford Crossing. Actually, no. What you could do is you could reward experience for either finding the entrance to the Deerford ruins through the area in the Deerford Crossing or the one in the Deerford Village, and not give both experience rewards. That would solve that issue. Another example I'd like to give is there's a dead body on one of the bluffs that you have to access through the spider cave. I think finding that dead body should reward experience for exploration, because the player has actually explored. They've gone through the spider caves, they found the secondary entrance that goes up onto the bluff, and then they found the dead body, and that dead body has some quests. So it's got a note to do with one of the quests in the village. So I think that should be counted as exploration XP. And the other example that I'd like to give for exploration XP in the beta is possibly related to the Deerford Crossing, is the encounter with the Menpugra and the forest lurkers up the top. I think that encounter is sort of out of the way, and that's like the hidden encounter in the map. It's kind of hard to find. And I also have a feeling that you may end up fighting a dragon on that map if you do one of the quests a certain way, at least, because in the trailer for Pillars of Eternity, you do see the party fighting a dragon in one of the short segments in that video. So that's what I think Obsidian should do for exploration XP. I don't think it should reward players for finding areas unless that area was hard to find, and that usually would be related to interiors rather than exteriors. So yeah, actually that could be how you handle getting to the Deerford ruins. Actually finding that area is exploring, so that you should reward experience for going into that area, and that would handle the bit where it depends which entrance you go in. So if you rewarded experience for finding that area, you could just do that as entering the area, and that would solve the problem with the two ways of going through it. But you shouldn't get experience for just exploring and finding an area on the world map without actually uncovering the area itself. Another example would be the bandit camp in Baldur's Gate 1. There's like 4 ways you can find the bandit camp. So like you should be rewarded experience for entering the area of the bandit camp because you found it. You found how to get there. So that's how I think exploration XP should be dealt with in Pillars of Eternity. The second thing I wanted to touch on is lock and trap experience. Now I know that there is a camp of people that think that you should be rewarded for unlocking locks and disarming traps. Now I think I understand what they want. Like, I don't necessarily think that these people want experience for actually disarming the lock and trap. Like, you may, even if you're one of those people and you think it's because you unlocked the lock, you should be rewarded for unlocking the lock. I don't think that's what you want. You want to be rewarded experience. It's not necessarily the act of unlocking a lock that you want experience for. You want experience for the fact that it gets you somewhere. And so, like, I don't think that... In some cases, I think it is fair to reward lock and trap experience, especially if that lock is preventing you from going somewhere and it is the only thing preventing you from going somewhere. Like, if you have to get past a locked door and there is a lock preventing you from getting through the door, you should be rewarded for unlocking the lock. However, in the reason that people don't like lock and trap experience is because it promotes degenerate gameplay in the instances where there are multiple options for solving a problem. If there is a lock and also the option to bash, why should you be rewarded experience for unlocking the door when you could just bash it down? In many instances, it makes more sense to bash the door open, especially if it's like a storeroom or something, because what if you need lockpicks to unlock the lock? You're wasting resources by unlocking the lock, spending those lockpicks, when it would be just simpler to use your BB Fighter's 22 strength to bash down the door at no cost of resources to the party. So in that instance, bashing down the door would actually be the smarter thing to do. And like if I was a DM, I would be rewarding the players for not wasting their resources or something like that. So what I think lock and trap XP should be changed into is objectives. If you have an objective to get past a lock and trap, and there are 3 ways of doing it: unlocking the lock, breaking down a wall, or bashing the lock, I think you should be rewarded for doing one of those 3 things, not all 3 of them. And that would prevent the degenerative gameplay of doing one of the options that's not rewarded for experience and getting rewarded experience for getting into the room and then going back and unlocking the lock for the experience. So I don't necessarily think that the lock and trap people want experience for locks and traps. They want experience in general. They want to be rewarded for getting past obstacles. So I think lock and trap XP should be tied into obstacle-based XP. If there's an obstacle that you have to get past, and there are multiple ways of doing it, you should be rewarded experience once for doing it. And if you should be rewarded experience for any of those ways that you manage to get past it, and only one of them. So you have to make a decision which one you want to do, and then you get a rewarded experience for getting past the obstacle, but not, you can't go back and get experience a second time. I think that should be implementable by Obsidian. I think that would be the way to handle instances where there's locks and traps. When it's just like a chest, and it's a locked chest, you shouldn't be rewarded experience for unlocking the lock, because the reason that you are unlocking the chest is you want what is inside of it. The reward should be the items that you get from unlocking the chest itself. And the last point I wanted to touch on is combat experience. Now, I don't have anything against experience for combat, but in this game, where combat isn't the only option for everything, whereas usually in the Infinity Engine games, combat is most of the time the only option. And in the instances where it's not the only option, you actually get more experience for doing the non-violent solution than you do for entering into combat, such as many of the quests in Icewind Dale. So, one of those is in Lower Dawn's Deep. I think it's Marketh and Malavon's sister. I can't remember her name. Maybe it starts with an I or something like that. You get like 80,000 experience for letting Marketh go, and you get 80,000 experience for letting the Drow go as well. So that there is promoting a non-violent solution. You don't get that experience if you kill them both. Now, in some instances where non-violent XP is rewarded in the Infinity Engine games, you can finish the quest non-violently and then go back and kill those people in the game and get the experience for them. So that is the problem, I think, that people are trying to remove when they're getting rid of experience for combat. Now, what I would find acceptable is that experience should be rewarded when there is no other option for combat. So if there's an encounter that's going to end in violence and you win the encounter, sure, you should be rewarded experience for that. But if there is a non-violent solution, it shouldn't be the combat that you are rewarded for. You should be rewarded for solving the problem, not the action of combat itself. So if you have a quest where you have to kill somebody and there's an option to not kill them, you should be rewarded either way. It doesn't matter which decision you make. You should either be rewarded for killing them or rewarded for not killing them. Anyway, solving, if it's related to a quest, as long as the quest is solved, it doesn't matter. But if there is a non-violent solution, you shouldn't be rewarded experience for it. And one of the examples that I wanted to give is the Medreth fight in the beta. So you don't have to kill Medreth's group. You should get experience for solving the quest, but you don't have to kill him. However, you may want to kill him because his party has some nice gear, I have to say, and by killing Medreth and his party and taking their stuff, well, actually, you could ask Medreth for his stuff, but he's obviously not going to give it to you. So, killing Medreth and his party for their stuff is furthering your goal in the main quest, so it's justifiable for doing. It's kind of like in... Have you guys seen Fast and the Furious 2? It's like this you probably have heard of it. It's a terrible movie. And there's a situation in Fast and Furious 2 where Paul Walker and the black guy think they need faster or better cars or something like that, and so they challenged some Italian guys to a drag race. But if they didn't think that they needed those cars, they wouldn't have done that. And it's the same with situations where you kill non-violent groups in games. It's like the reason that I kill Medreth in the beta is because I want his gear. Like, I need his gear to do some of the higher level encounters in the game. Now, in the full game, I may not need to do that. And I think the reward for that fight itself is the gear that you get off his party. You shouldn't need an experience for reward for doing that encounter, because the gear you get from it is really good. And I think if Obsidian has sensible loot design, you'll be killing NPCs like that for the gear, rather than you're not killing them for the experience. But I do think rewarding experience for combat when combat is the only option is a good idea. I'm not necessarily against bestiary XP. I don't really think it's necessary, but I can see how it is a good thing, because those monsters that you're fighting out in the wilderness, there is no other option to kill them. There's two options: you can sneak past them, or you can kill them. And I think giving experience for a limited number of those is fair enough, because if you don't have the stealth to sneak past them and you have to fight those monsters, they are a drain on your strategical resources. They're a drain on your hit points. So I think it's fair enough if you do get rewarded some experience for killing those things. But in, named NPCs and groups that are related to quests and stuff like that, you shouldn't get experience for killing them. So I think the implementation that they've got is kind of right. Like, I could understand if they rewarded experience for killing all beetles or something like that. But I think there's also the argument that, like, by killing all of the beetles, you're harming the ecosystem of that area or something like that. And I think that's a feature in the Serpent in the Staglands. Whereas if you go... It's one of the games that's coming up, I can't remember. I think it's Serpent in the Staglands. If you kill all of the enemies in an area, that area will be overrun by a different group of enemies or something like that. Different types of creatures. You can screw with the ecosystem. So I think maybe the bestiary XP is the way to go. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the experience system, and I probably won't be saying anything else on the subject. I just wanted to get that out of the way and put it out there for people. So if you agree with me on experience and the couple of suggestions I made to make the giving experience a bit better, post on the forums about it in the thread that I'm going to make. Let the developers know what you think. And I'll have more videos on different topics coming over the next few days and weeks, I guess. Thanks for listening, guys, and look forward to the next one.